Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. I'm your host, Scott Friedman, and today we're going to take another step forward in understanding our mind because it's our mind that creates, right? And that's how we do it. So the more we understand our mind and how it creates, the more we can exert our will and directing our mind to create what we consciously want to create as opposed to what we might unconsciously be creating. Because sometimes it's like, that old thing of like, be careful what you ask for. Well, man, that applies to the unconscious as well as the conscious, right? Sometimes I gotta laugh because I said, "Well, I chose a challenging life," and I go, "Yeah, there are times when I feel like, was that really the best choice?" And then there's plenty of times where I say, "Yeah, it was the best choice." But I mean, certainly, and again, I go back over and over and over again to leaning on this idea that the most efficient and effective way forward is to have a greater acceptance of what's true right now. And so to have a better understanding of my mind and stuff, some of the things that I'm going to appreciate about what I've created with my mind, I'm going to articulate now with the understanding that in doing that, I'm going to have gain greater mastery and greater insight. And the first thing that comes to mind really is that I've very consciously chose a lifestyle where I had a lot of free time myself, right? I wanted, even for work, where I wanted to be paid for productivity, not for hours. And certainly, that's worked out well for me, as a mortgage broker and an investor and a spiritual leader. And so it's been great because it gives me the time to meditate and reflect and all of that things that not only that I enjoy but that I value and that are highly productive, right? Because one of the things that I've come to understand through my meditation is that if I want to be more effective in the world, I have to grow. And in order to grow, what that really means is that means I really have to accept more fully what is. And what really, and a big part of that, or maybe like the whole thing, is my mind and how it creates, what it does and how it creates. And so that certainly the thoughts and beliefs and everything are all very impactful. And so as I think about this, is like I think, okay, well, what are some more things and what are some more ways that I've used my mind to create so that I can have a greater understanding of it all. And certainly one of them is being open to thoughts that I resonate deeply with, right? So all the so much of the wisdom that I've been able to share has come to me in meditation. So for example, uh, I remember, just being present, right? Which is meditation, right? That's being present is meditation, vice versa as well. I was in this meeting and somebody asked me, well, what exactly is spiritual growth? And just like a reflex, just like, how the doctor used to bang your knee and your foot would like jump up. It was that kind of a reflex thing where just out of my mouth totally in the moment, I said, spiritual growth is the continually greater acceptance and alignment with what's true. And boy, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I went like, whoa, 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 where'd that come from? That was really good. How did I come up with that? And so, a lot of the wisdom that has become part of my mind and part of my thinking and part of my active creation, it comes to me when I'm in that spontaneous flow present state, right? And it can be anytime, right? It could be while I'm meditating, it could be while I'm on the tennis court, it could be while I'm hanging out with my friends, it could be while I'm talking to my wife, it could be anything, could be anytime, anywhere, right? Where as long as I'm just present and in the flow and allowing what's optimal to flow through me and out my mouth, um, it is trustworthy and certainly uh, you know having that thought in my mind that uh, the infinite wisdom is always available to me. That thought has really served me well because one of the results of that thought is that I never worry about when I'm going to give a speech because I meditate on well, what would be the optimal speech to deliver in this circumstance, and for everyone involved. And it's like, and I've never failed to get inspiration about that. And so it's certainly, I have the thought that I can tap into the wisdom that I need anytime I need to tap into it. And certainly that has given me the confidence to accept speaking engagements. It's given me the confidence to write books. It's given me the confidence when I go into meetings that, I go into a meeting and I say, all I need to do in this meeting is just be present. And if I'm hanging out with people and I'm not inspired to say anything, then you know what? Then it's just a matter of just, okay, then what I'm to do is to just be and let my energy and countenance add to the conversation because I'm in the present moment. And just being in the present moment is a gift to everyone involved, whether I'm saying anything or not, whether it looks like I'm doing anything or not, just being in the present moment. So those are certainly ways that I've used my mind so that, it's kept me from shying away from opportunities that I might otherwise avoid that are good and beneficial for me. And it's given me a level of self-confidence that I just wouldn't have otherwise had. And that's really critical, right? I mean, self-confidence is important. And so those are some of the things that I've created with my mind. Other things that I've created with my mind would include um, the idea, the thought that I can draw people out and that I can draw out the wisdom within people. I can draw that out by asking them questions and point out to them where they're in the flow, where they're already tapping into that universal wisdom, where they're already uh, being far more inspired and effective and in tune and in touch with the essence of who they are and the best of who they are and the most effective aspects of who they are and help them accept that. And so that's really so that thought that I can identify and communicate and draw out the best that people have within them to where they accept it and utilize it more is really, having that having that thought and creating that, really is motivating me to, move forward as a coach because I believe in my ability to bring value, right? And in that way. And so that's another way that I'm creating the world by with my mind, right? So because I have that thought that um, I can bring value to people, right? I have then acting on that thought, has me, soliciting coaching business. And so there's another way in which my mind is creating the world that I'm in, and it's creating a better world for everybody. And so that's a good thing. So those are some of the ways that I'm creating the life that I want and the world that I want with my mind. And it's important to for me at least to do that periodically because there's so much that my mind creates that I'm not fully accepting and relating to, right? My mind is your mind, right? Well, there's really one mind, right? The mind, our mind, my mind, has created this entire universe. It's created the Milky Way. It's created all of the dimensions and planets that exist. It's created everything that is differentiated in any way. And I have that, and thank God, I have that as an intellectual understanding. And I realize that, until I need to keep moving forward in my self-acceptance to the point where I have that as a visceral, emotional, totally I relate to this and I'm in charge of it, understanding, and that I can, in an instant, create the entire world an entire universe and world that I want. And I know I have that ability. I know you have that ability. That is the power of the mind. And so, but we start with what we can identify and relate to, and then we just build on that by having, like I said, a greater acceptance all the time of what we consciously relate to being able to create with our mind. And that's the game, right? That's the game we're playing. And one of the things that helps in that game is understanding that we could take a vacation, we could take a nap from all of creation anytime we want. All we have to do is rest in being, right? And then we can look from there down upon the mind and see what it is or is not doing and what we're directing it to do or not. But that we can detach completely from the mind and just observe it. And that gives us a perspective and an understanding of the mind that results in us being able to better utilize our mind as we so direct. And so that's another piece in mastering our ability to direct our mind to do what we want it to do, to create what we want it to create, and how all that works. So this is exciting, right? Because ask yourself, and it's true. You have the ability to create everything you could ever imagine or want in your life, and that it's just a matter of accepting that, relating with to that, identifying that, to be able to consciously direct that power. And that power is there. It's a matter of just being conscious to direct it. And it's like, well, how exciting is that? I can make any world I want whenever I want in an instant. It's like I've got that ability, and I'm going to keep accepting what's true more and more and more, because as I do, I relate and utilize that ability more and more and more. And so that's really that's exciting, right? I mean, that's exciting, and we can do stuff. we could we could create stuff we want. So anyway, that's my effort right now to increase my acceptance of how my mind creates and how my will directs my mind to create. A lot of people call it intention, right? What's your intention here, right? That's your intention is your will, right? Synonyms. Use either one. Doesn't matter. Same thing. Different word, never get caught up in, fighting over what words we should use to describe the same experience or event, right? It's like you could say there was a car accident, or you could say the BMW hit the Honda, right? And different words, but it's still describing a car accident, right? You know, it's like, so don't get caught up in that stuff. Whether it's God, higher self, true self, the reality of being. It's like don't go to war over that stuff. It's stupid, right? It's just self-defeating. But anyway, don't know where that came from, but there it was. I do thought coaching where we really start to understand and grow in our capacity to understand how our thoughts are creating our world, and how we can choose which thoughts to act on, and how we can open ourselves up to more empowering thoughts that enable us to more completely create the world we want. So I do that. I help you and me and the rest of the universe do that. So if that's of interest to you, you can contact me at scottfriedman40@gmail.com, SCOTTFRIEDMAN 40 at gmail.com. If you want to share your win-win experiences that you've participated in that have been life enriching for you and everybody else, let me know at that same email address, and we'll do a podcast and we'll share it, because example is the most powerful form of leadership. And one of the things I've chosen to do in the world is to make it a better place by sharing about the efficacy of win-win solutions. And I made up my mind to do that, and you could be part of it and enjoy that. And then I also have books available. They're available on Amazon, and you can find links to them on my website, www.thoughtcoachingbyscott.com. All right, so this is exciting. Let's get out and consciously direct our mind to create the world we want for ourselves. Okay, bye.